my name is Miss Baranov. I teach ERWC. There's a couple things I thought I should explain so you're going to understand why I do some of the things I do. As I go through this material, please write down the answers on the About the Teacher handout. We're going to start with section 1. First of all, I tend to have high expectations. I believe that all of my students are capable of earning an A, and part of the reason for that is growing up, I was often told, because I struggled in school, that I wasn't intelligent, I probably wouldn't even graduate high school, and that really frustrated me because I felt I wasn't stupid, I just struggled with certain items. Eventually, I was tested and put in special education classes because my brain processes information in a different way. And through a process of trial and error, I was able to figure out how my brain, I looked at my weaknesses, I looked at my strengths, and I was able to figure out the way my brain handles information. To this day, I still have some struggles. I still have to sometimes work harder than other people to accomplish things. But I went from a student who was struggling with C's and D's to a student who graduated high school with honors with a 3.91 GPA. So I know it's possible if you understand your strengths and weaknesses that you can be successful if you make good choices for yourself. So I tend to believe that all of my students are capable of making good choices and just may need some help to make better choices for themselves. But you are capable and you can do the work. Um, because I had to work hard, especially to deal with things like to overcome not only just the learning issues I had, but I lost people, family, friends who were very close to me. I had to work through grief. My family struggled financially. We didn't always have food. I was often hungry. We had to worry about being evicted, losing the house we were living in. There were all sorts of stressors. I was expected to watch the younger siblings, help with grandparents, and so sometimes my parents didn't want to send me to school. Um, there are various things I do understand that can make it more of a challenge to be successful in school. But the one thing I do not understand is laziness. I was never able to be lazy. I understand tired. I understand overwhelmed. I understand confused about time management because how can you get that better grade if you're always helping abuelita or being expected to babysit younger siblings? Um, but if you have questions, there are ways I can share with you some of the strategies I use. But I don't understand simply failing a class. You may not get the highest grade, but there's always usually a way to work around struggles and challenges. For instance, one of the things I offer is extra help. Mondays, this is in section 2, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays before school from 7:45 to 8:15 I offer extra help. If my door is closed on Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, just knock on the door if it's 7:45. But those are the times I offer extra help. What if those times don't work for you? I can be available after school. I can be available at lunch, but you're going to need to let me know ahead of time. Ask me towards the end of class so I can look at my schedule and see if I'm available. I also offer something called second chances, where people can get extra time to work on assignments. Extra chances are for either time to collaborate with the teacher, where you're like, I'm not sure why I got the grade I got. Can we talk about this? I don't understand my score. Or if you have a concern about your grade, or if you need extra time. Usually, there are certain limitations on when I can take assignments. I normally do not take assignments late, other than three specific situations. So we're going to get into the specific situations where I do take work late. All right. So let's take a look at this. In section 3, one of the situations in which I do take work late is absences. Our department policy is if you're absent when we worked on an assignment, you get the day it was assigned and then 2 more days. But you do need to type the word absent and the date in the private comments section in Google Classroom of that assignment. Why do you need to type absent in the date? Because in general, I don't score late work. But during the second chance time, I go back and I look for things like, were you absent? So if you remember to type in absent in the date, I score it during the second chance work time, and then it gets added into your grade. But in general, if you turn something in late, it doesn't get scored. Now, there are 2 other options: people with IEPs and 504s. And also, you can transfer, you can parlay your following direction points, your participation points into an opportunity for more time to turn work in late. So you want to make sure you are earning following direction points by like being in your seat on time, listening, paying attention, participating, raising your hand, answering questions correctly. Those are the things that will allow you to turn work in late. But once again, normally if I see something says late in Google Classroom, I don't score it. Absence 504, transfer of those following direction points. Okay, then we can talk about stuff. So be aware of that. Now, last semester, a lot of students would tell me, oh, I turned the work in on time, but I had to unsubmit it because I realized I accidentally left out some of the answers. Or when you went over the answers, I realized a lot of my work was incorrect, so I unsubmitted the work. But I did turn it in on time. Google Classroom only gives me 3 options to look at: missing, late, and turned in. So it's better for you not to unsubmit your work if you turned it in on time. What should you do instead? Instead, you should make a copy of the work. And last year, they allowed us to make copies of submitted work and then change the title. So if you rename the assignment, like if the assignment was called Activity 4, you're going to rename it Revised Activity 4 or Corrected Activity 4. I also recommend in your Google Drive, maybe have a folder, create a folder, title it ERWC, so that way you can put all your revised work. And that way, during the second chance time, you can be like, hey, I revised the assignment. I'd like to try for a higher grade. We can have a conversation about that and move on from there. But unless I tell you it's okay to unsubmit an assignment, don't unsubmit the work. Just make a copy of it. Now, because I am one person and I have one mouth, there's something as young adults you need to consider. If you like the opportunity of getting extra help, having your questions answered, having someone, proofread and model things for you, I really need people to be on task and following directions. If people are creating distractions, being off task, coming in late, I have to, as per administration, redirect and talk to people about that. Well, if I'm taking time to talk to people about that, that's less time I will have to answer questions and to work with people. So please follow directions. Please listen. Please show up on time, because then that gives me more of an opportunity to help you academically get to the next level. But if people are off task, that will unfortunately take time away from me helping you more. So this is a conscious choice you have to make, and I wanted you to be aware of that. Hopefully this information helped to give you a sense as to some of the things I do ways around some issues, and why I look at things and handle things the way I do, because I understand, parents are going to make interesting choices that you have no control over. You may have to be a parent to your younger siblings. You may have to help out your family. You may struggle with certain things. But once again, if you figure out a schedule, if you have good time management, if you make just good choices for yourself and communicate, you should be able to do fine in the class and get the highest grade possible, which I know students are capable of doing.